Hello, visual communication students. Before you work on your first design assignment, which will involve creating a piece of digital art in order to demonstrate what you've learned so far with, with working using Adobe Illustrator, in particular, drawing shapes, adding color and stroke, or maybe removing stroke, and adding texture. Before you do that, I want to introduce this design principle to you. Actually, there are two design principles here, harmony and unity. The reason why there are two is because even though these are two different principles of design, they actually are quite similar, and one leads to the other, or you can use one to enable the other. So I'll be looking for evidence of these two design principles in your upcoming digital art project, your design project. And so I wanted to make sure you have a good understanding of this concept. This won't take very long. I'm going to introduce these principles of design to you and show you some examples. Then in Google Classroom, you have a short study, we can call it, to complete. It's called Interpreting Harmony. So you'll do that to demonstrate your understanding of this concept and just to practice it. And then once you're completed that, you'll move on to the actual design project that will take you a few classes to complete. Harmony and unity, two of the principles of design. Now, what we're really talking about here is a sense of connectedness and wholeness in a design. Now, by design, we mean any kind of artwork. You can think of it like any kind of artwork, like even a piece of jewelry or drawing or painting or sculpture. Of course, we're in this course, we're focused on artwork that is meant to communicate ideas and information, like maybe a movie poster or a business card or even like a CD cover. So artwork that has a definite purpose to communicate a message to the viewer. Now, that message will more effectively be communicated if the artwork, if the design has harmony and unity, if it has a sense of connectedness and wholeness. This is an interesting analogy to help differentiate the two. Harmony and unity work together, but they're not quite the same thing. So think of this. In a symphony, we've got a line of flutes, and they're all playing the same notes. And so we say that they're in harmony. But all of a sudden, the tuba plays the exact same note as the flutes are playing, but of course, the sound will be different because it's a different instrument. And so we say that the flutes and the tuba are still in harmony, but not necessarily in unity. Now, what unity depends on is relationship. Relationship amongst the visual elements. Visual elements are things like the colors and the shapes and the textures and the typography, all the things basically that we see with our eyes. And so when there's clear relationships between the visual elements, we consider the design to be unified, and it therefore has a sense of wholeness and connectedness. And this helps with communicating the intent of the design, because it makes the design appear less cluttered, not confusing, much more organized. So here's an example where we see all the visual elements effectively working together to complete a sense of oneness and completeness. Now, this example is not really a poster meant to advertise anything. It's more like a piece of art that would be hung for decoration somewhere. But just notice how all the visual elements seem to relate to one another. I mean, all the characters kind of have that similar look, that really round and full look. We have similar colors being repeated throughout the design. The whole artwork was done using the same style, using the same media. And there's like even a common theme. Music seems to be the common theme. So there's a clear relationship amongst the visual elements. Now, creating harmony in a design can help create unity. So let's focus more on harmony now. Visual echo is a term that some designers use when referring to harmony. And basically, it's just a fancy way of saying repetition. So in other words, as the designer, if you use repetition in your work, you're more likely to have a strong sense of unity. Now, repetition of what? Well, repetition of visual elements. So things like colors and styles, the actual content, even elements like typography. So visual echo or repetition. Let's look at some examples. So harmony is achieved in this painting because we see a lot of circular forms repeated, like the bells of the instruments, the hats that some of the gentlemen are carrying, even some of the features on the sashes and ribbons that they're wearing. So the repetition of those circles helps to create harmony. In this CD cover, the repetition of the curves in the typography and in the imagery helps to create harmony. And remember that harmony leads to a sense of unity as well. Color scheme is a big deal in visual art, whether it's graphic design or traditional fine art. Here's a great example of an artist who stuck to, say, a 3-color color scheme, which really helps to create harmony. So again, repetition, meaning the same set of colors is repeated throughout the design. Overlapping helps to create harmony and unity because it helps to show a actual literal connectedness amongst visual elements. So if you look carefully at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 figures here, 6 people, they're all actually connected. They're all touching. And that's on purpose, and that helps to create what we call a figure. And so when our eyes look at that, our brain perceives those 6 people as one overall shape. And that helps to create unity, harmony as well. You'll notice in this example that harmony is also created with the use of a color scheme. Here's an example of repetition of like theme. So in this sense, or in this design rather, the typography has a real organic and whimsical appearance. And that seems to be the overall message or the overall mood of the design. So like spring. So in other words, growth. So if you look at what the layout says, it's a 6-day spring sale. So it's just an ad for Any Day Gifts, which is just a made-up company. But the idea is that it's in the spring, and what do we think of when we think of spring? Newness, growth, it's organic, we're outside. And so the typography reflects that theme and gives the whole layout a real organic mood or vibe. The end. Okay, so there you go. See, it's not that difficult. So you just have to keep in mind the repetition of visual elements, whether it's typography or colors or shapes, or curvature of shapes and the contour. So you'll have an opportunity to interpret this principle of design in the Interpreting Harmony assignment that you'll find in Google Classroom. And then you'll move on to the Talking Heads assignment, in which case you'll have to use harmony in order to help create unity.